always glad to see you, Tom. You know that.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's 5:30. We're going to start the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting, Thursday, May 23, 2024. Would y'all please stand for invocation?
Dear Heavenly gracious Father, we come before you just giving you all the praise and all the glory. We thank you, Father, for this day. We ask, Lord Jesus, that you just guide our minds, Father, as we prepare to make decisions for our city and our citizens. Help us do it in a way that will enhance this city and make it a better place to live. In Jesus' holy and precious name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. Please stay standing while we do the pledge of allegiance and the station of the flag.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
Please be seated. Okay, as we get started, is there anyone in the audience here or anyone here that wants to speak in something that's not on the agenda today? Do we have anybody from the, that's not on the agenda? Anybody here today? No? Okay, thank you. We're going to go to action item number 5. 5.1 is to discuss the and approve last month's meetings. Do I have any questions in regards to last month's meetings? Commissioners?
No,
No? Do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
I have a motion to approve last month's meeting from April 25th, 2024. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Item 6.1, we're going to have a public hearing to conduct, we're going to conduct a public hearing to receive comment regarding a planned development, single-family plan, PD SF 7.5, base zoning on 30.442 acres of land out of the Joseph M.H. Chisholm Survey, abstract number 105, and the Jefferson M. McTurf Survey, abstract number 340 in the city of Terrell, Kaufman County, Texas. The property is located at the northeast intersection of FM 986 Poultry Road and Town North in the city of Terrell. The property is to be single-family development, PD 24-03. Staff?
Good evening, Commissioners. Tonight I bring a planned development. Again, it's at the location of Town North Drive and FM 986, or as we know it as Poetry Road. This developer, who is the landowner and it will be the home builder, is proposing 91 single-family residencies, 7.5. We've had many meetings with them. They've complied with all of our requirements, and we are now ready to recommend approval of this planned development. The current zoning complies with the use of the property, as well as the City of Terrell's comprehensive plan, zoning ordinances, and all other codes, studies, and plans as applicable. Our office has reviewed the plat, civil, and architectural plans and find that each are conforming to the city standards and requirements. On page 11, you'll find our application. On page 17, their proof of ownership. On page 23 is the location map highlighted in red, which will show the boundaries of this parcel. The next page is the zoning. It is currently zoned 7.5. On page 25, it shows the future land use with our future thoroughfare, and it is targeted for new traditional neighborhood, which this planned development complies with. On the last page is a buffer map. It has the subject property outlined in blue, and the red denotes the 200-foot buffer that was notified by mail. Plus, we also made publicized it in Terrell Tribune. On the next two pages, front, back, is the list of the direct property owners that fall within that 200-foot buffer. Page 29 is that public hearing that posted not only in the Tribune, but that was sent to each owner. And then we have some of the renderings that this property owner is submitted. And they also, if approved, this plan development is approved, I'm going to present to you on the last agenda item, a construction plat, and we can get into these renderings and some of their ideas about the home build. City staff recommends approval of this plan development for the future Chisholm Trace Estates.
I'm going to open the public hearing. Is there anyone here that wants to speak in favor of this? Please state your name, sir, and your address, if you don't mind, please, sir.
Sure. Good evening. My name's Lynn Cadlick, 3516 Caliche Court, Plano, Texas. I'm the civil engineer for this project, and here representing the owner. He is here in the audience. His name's Bob Pearson, so if you have any questions for him, he'll be glad to assist also. I'm not going to expound on what Jana has said. I think she did a very good job presenting what we're trying to do here, and would just ask that you give us a positive consideration and be glad to try and answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
For your time. Okay, is there anyone else that wants to come up and speak in favor to this? All right. Is there anyone in the audience that wants to speak not in favor of this PD 24-03? No, okay, we're going to close the public hearing. We're going to action item 6.2. To discuss and consider an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Terrell, Kaufman County, Texas, providing the creation of a planned development, single-family 7.5, under the provision of 31A Appendix 2 zoning ordinance of the City of Terrell on certain real property consisting of 30.442 acres out of the land of Joseph M.H. Chisholm Survey, Abstract Number 105, and the Jefferson M. McTurf Survey, Abstract 340, Kaufman County, Texas, and more particularly described by Metz and Bounds in the general warranty deed attached hereto as Exhibit A, and the site plan attached hereto as Exhibit B, and under the terms and conditions specified in the Exhibit C attached hereto, both being made a part hereof for all purposes, providing for the repeal of conflicting ordinance, providing the severability, and providing an effective date, PD 24-03. Yes, ma'am.
Again, Commissioners, this is the ordinance with the plan development that is before you tonight. It outlines the metes and bounds. It also has the special warranty deed as an exhibit. We have the plat on page 54, and then on Exhibit C are the terms. This developer is willing to not only construct and build this nice neighborhood, they are also willing to add to our infrastructure and, of course, sanitary sewer, water, what have you. So I recommend approval of this.
Commissioners, do we have any questions for staff or in regards to the this plan development 24-03? Yes, ma'am.
Commissioners, just a quick reminder, make sure you hit the microphone button, otherwise the recording doesn't capture your voices. Thank you.
Question one. If it,
Pull your microphone over to you.
is that better?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, sorry. Question one, if, you stated in the original conversation that the development met the original zoning of 7.5, so why the need for a PD?
On a plan development agreement, it gives that developer in the city, it irons out just a few of the details that are either like the infrastructure. They're going to build the extension of 9th Street. In return, the city is going to, and if you'll turn to page 56 and 57, you'll see those obligations. When we have a developer and they're willing to come in and to develop these 31 acres, we give some concessions about some of the lot sizes, some of the setbacks, what have you. They're minor tweaks. They're not in any way detrimental to the 7.5 zoning. It does follow, for the most part, everything. But when they are willing to add on certain criteria, and for, especially in our infrastructure, if you'll notice on, in the event, city acknowledges that the 9th Street is a roadway impact fee credit eligible project and that the construction cost of 9th Street will set the maximum amount of available roadway impact credits. So that is what you're going to learn a little bit in our next board meeting about the CIAC and the impact fees that we're proposing. But that's a concession for that builder willing to widen and build that infrastructure.
So you're saying they're building the extension of 9th Street?
Yes,
on
that-
their dime?
Yes, that's right.
What is the credit for them to do so?
Chris, you want to come up and explain how that works?
So, what we do on these PDs is we have concessions on some of the things, and the credit for them is that road not only benefits them, but it also benefits the city in meeting the thoroughfare plan of the future. So that's how we build our thoroughfare plan throughout the city. As developers move in, they pick up that part and then willing to that. And in concessions of some of that, there is some of that conceding of, on the impact of the roadway. We do keep the road, the impact fees on the water and the sewer. It's just on the roadway. So there's some way concession of them paying part of that road. And some of it in the PD is, if you want to look through the weeds, we worked with this developer, and he's been over and twisted backwards, but there's a few lots that make it somewhat difficult to meet all the criteria, such as we gave up 5 feet in the backyard. So that's the only concession, that's the only change from that. So
So it meets the 7.5 with the exception of which lots that take out 5 feet?
If
Which
you look
lots?
at item number 4,
yeah,
it has those lot numbers.
Those lot numbers?
so they're all predefined. We get down to the weeds as to which specific ones. So when we build these, our inspectors can go in and watch, and we get what we pay for, so to speak. And he adheres to his contractual obligation of what he's going to build. So it meets all the 7.5. There's just some tweaks in there that, we wanted to make sure that the front of the buildings and the things of that nature and the setbacks are adhered to. But when you have a twisted lots, some of that's some opportunities. And not everything's a rectangle in a box.
And then question 2, that site, if I recall, is heavily wooded. And so what are our requirements for mitigation? Because obviously the development plan doesn't take context into account at all.
Okay, before this developer purchased the property, the previous owner went out and did a lot of bulldozing, knocking trees down. When this builder purchased the property, they were required to do a tree study and identify those trees, and so those will be incorporated into his design.
So as in trying to preserve as many as possible?
correct.
Absolutely.
So where the roads are, naturally they go, but the whole emphasis of the tree survey is to go out there and identify those. And then he works with us of saying, okay, what can he preserve, what he cannot preserve.
Any other questions?
Commissioners, any more questions for staff in regards to PD 24-03? No? Do I have a motion?
I move that we approve the plan development Chisholm Trace ordinance number 3046.
I have a motion to approve PD 24-03. Do I have a second? Second. I have a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? No, motion carries. Okay, we're gonna go to 6.3. We can conduct a public hearing to receive comments regarding a planned development commercial, a PD-C, based zoning on 3.1 acres of land situated in the John H. Hale Survey, abstract number 202 in the city of Terrell, Kaufman County, Texas, also known as 1131 South Virginia Street, Terrell, Texas, PD 24-04.
Commissioners, this applicant came before you last year of July, wanting to do a zone change at that time. However, you sent him back because he did not have a confirmed use of the property. He's come back now and has complied with all of our application requirements. And he does now have the property up for sale and has a couple of different interested parties. To accommodate our current zoning for this property is commercial. Our future land use, however, is retail and office space. So to protect that strip of all the parcels up and along that are mainly light industrial, we have offered a planned development for this owner with the criteria that the underlay will remain commercial. However, there are certain uses that will be allowed on this property that will comply. So our staff met together. We all agreed that we selected 5 uses, and we feel that that will work well for this property owner and a potential buyer. The property is 1131 South Virginia, and this is in the middle, right next to the Frito-Lay that you all approved last month. And it's between Frito-Lay and the Southwestern Bell offices out there. They've been out there forever. There were 11 letters sent out to adjacent property owners within the 200-foot buffer, and we received no responses back for either in favor or not in favor of the property. Page 65 is the application. Page 69 is proof of ownership. Page 77 is the current zoning. So you can see the dark purple with the blue outline, that's commercial. Everything around him is light industrial. Next page is the future land use, showing the difference that its future is retail and office. The following page on 79 is the buffer map. Next page on 80 are the list of property owners that we mailed the following public hearing notice to, as well as we did run this in the Terrell Tribune. On page 83, you're going to see the ordinance, and behind the ordinance are several attachments. Exhibit B, which is on page 93, is the development standards that we outlined. And there's 6 different uses here that we agree as staff members that will work on this property. And again, city staff recommends approval of ordinance 3050 for 1131 South Virginia.
Thank you, ma'am. I'm going to go ahead and open the public hearing. Is there anyone in the audience that wants to come and speak in favor of this PD-24-04? Okay. Is there anyone here that wants to speak not in favor of PD 24-04? I'm going to go and close the public hearing. We're going to discuss and consider an ordinance for the city council of the city of Terrell, Kaufman County, Texas, providing the creation of a planned development commercial PD-C under the provision of 31A Appendix 2 zoning ordinance of the City of Terrell on certain real property containing 3.11 acres of land situated in the John C. Hill Survey Abstract Number 202, Kaufman County, Texas, according to the metes and bounds contained in the special warranty deed attached to Exhibit A and under the terms and conditions specified in Exhibit B, attached hereto, both of which being made a part hereof for all purpose and also known as 1131 South Virginia Street, Terrell, Kaufman County, Texas, providing for the repeal of conflicting ordinance, providing for severability, and providing an effective date for PD 24-04. Commissioners, we have any questions for staff in regards to this PD? Yes, ma'am.
A couple questions. As I saw when reading through this, it was rejected and it's come back. Well, then you were not able to confirm what the uses were. That's where y'all have to meet in and determine which ones they could.
Yes, yes.
So my question, these uses that you guys have outlined, how did y'all come about that? Is that
Mr. Norton, who owns the property, is here tonight, but he and I have communicated, and he shared with me some of the types of businesses that have reached out and inquired about the property, and these were highlighting some of those that would cover some of those potential purchasers. I do want to say that the way this is written, anyone who buys the property and they comply with this development agreement, they will be required to submit their own application that will come before you for a specific use permit. So today is just to change the use of the property, but when a confirmed use is made, then they'll come back before you with their own application and details.
That was my question. So whoever came, purchased it would have to do these.
Yes, ma'am.
Comply with these that you.
Exactly.
But my question, I guess, is how, you guys just decided that these would be the ones? That was the-
Yes, we decided that within that boundary, given the thoroughfare plan and what have you, that these would comply with, yes, that, yes, ma'am.
Okay, because it just in the purpose use, it said that it would be allowed for uses as well as a couple of more uses. So what's a couple more?
Right.
These are the six, I guess, y'all had six of them
Yes, ma'am.
that have been outlined. These are within the retail, future retail and office.
Yes, they would comply.
So it's still not light industrial.
No, it's keeping the underlay of the property at commercial, yeah, with just additional uses only.
And at that time, when they come back, then we have to approve, and by then, we would be going by the list that you guys have given us.
That's right. I'll present back to you with their application, and then I'll bring out the development, the plan development agreement, and then you will be able to see that.
Any more questions?
I have a question.
Yes, ma'am, go ahead.
So, I remember this from last time. It's a tough one, I think, because when we look at what we're doing for future growth, future plans for Terrell, and what we believe to be right, the industrial is not it. However, I know what's existing, so I understand that too. I guess my question, when I look at these, I read light industrial. That's actually what I read, with the exception of the microbrewery and maybe a bakery and confectionery business. So can you explain, can you clarify, pretend new manufactured home cells go into that location? How are we gonna keep that from looking, feeling, being, how is that different from light industrial? What will that look like?
Well, and you're right, these do comply with light industrial because those are the targeted people that are looking at this property, what they want to use that property for, because they see the surrounding use, what have you. However, every applicant that comes through here, the staff will sit down and we will analyze and verify that it complies with our ordinances, our codes, what have you. And even during the building phase of it, it will still have to follow the zoning ordinance for facade, signage, parking, what have you.
But how is this not a different way of doing light industrial?
Well,
Sorry.
it's still, this, for some reason, this one parcel was zoned commercial. Can't tell you how that happened, what have you. We're just trying to make it, to work, to help our merchants. And not all can we do that. Some where it's just too tough, and there's too much of a negative void that to help, a certain zoning. But on this case, we feel that it does have a right to have an alternate use.
So the dairy that's up the street, what was that zoned?
Light industrial. And if you'll look at the zoning map, you'll be able to see it. It's clearly shown.
Are there any design, because that's a pretty interesting light industrial building. Do the same design guidelines fall onto this? So something that goes there will look similar in quality to what's at 1836 or whatever the.
Well, they complied with the light industrial ordinances. The zoning for light industrial and commercial are two separate things. So they each have their own requirements and regulations. So when they got their CO, they had already complied with everything, even with their construction that they did when they updated their facade and parking and what have you.
So will the requirements, let's say new manufactured home sales goes in, will it comply with commercial requirements in terms of?
Yes, but if you'll notice, I added some different features on number one. I said new manufactured home sales with a permanent office that is compliant to the City of Terrell building standards. In addition, this use must comply with screening, landscaping, parking, fire code regulations, and other ordinances, a special use permit. So many times we see mobile home sales and they use one of the mobile homes for their office. The city, the staff, we decided we did not want to see that in our town. So we're saying that if they want to sell new mobile homes, they will have to have a permanent office that meets all of our requirements.
So you're kind of comparing a little bit of apples and oranges
Sure.
in your analogy.
Yeah.
So you've got to be aware of that. So what this is going to do, this is going to bring it up to our standards today. So there's going to be landscaping, there's going to be facades, so there's going to be a whole different appearance than what you see of what's been existing. And that's just part of, you as you grow and you annex, they're already kind of grandfathered in by that CO. So that's the little bit of the difference.
Any other questions for staff? I do appreciate the due diligence that they did in regards to what they're gonna be doing out there. Yes, ma'am.
I just had another comment, just from looking at all of this, and even the application where the owner was actually saying that he's lost a couple of deals because he's not been able, and this property in that area where it is, has previously all been, or pretty much been industrial.
It is.
So, and I understand that we are trying to go to a different level at this point in time, but with that one piece in the middle of all that other, I can see us trying to work with them, because
Yes, ma'am.
that's who's the courting, those are the people that are courting that area, or industrial type life. And from what you show with your recommendations, it's kind of a mixture, like you said, by requiring the upgrade of their buildings, of how the appearance, even though we still may be doing some industrial, it's still, it looks like to me we're trying to do a negotiation, we're trying to work it out, like you
We're
said.
just defining some building standards, yes.
But at the same time, it's still a little industrial, but it's still making the commercial requirements of what we need. So
Exactly.
in essence, just trying to, because you got this one piece of property in the middle. of
It's
all
just a
that,
loner
to try
out,
to help the owner
exactly,
do what he's trying to do with his property.
exactly.
Okay, I'm just getting some clarity.
Anything else?
Yeah, one more. So now I'm going to future cast, just to make sure. Eventually, the goal, I would think, is for us, because the city spends a lot of time all across the city. We just approved a single family, approve a lot of things based on goals and zoning overlays that we have established as the right answer, right? Whatever that is, snapshot in time. And so I find myself thinking, because this is a tough one, and I I empathize with the owner, because it is a loner. But then on the flip side, while we're all talking about it, once something gets built industrial, I look at, what if it's a contractor supply warehouse and it's a metal building, and today, current state, it fits with everything. How are we evolving that area in the future to get it to be what we aspire for it to be? Right, so it doesn't seem necessarily, and I'm not trying to be difficult or argumentative, I'm just trying to understand the future plan so that we don't get ourselves stuck in an environment where we had hoped to do retail and office and do really great things, but we can't ever get there because we have a whole slew of industrial and we didn't plan accordingly.
Right.
I'd love your thoughts.
So just like Frito-Lay, we required them, anything facing State Highway 34 had to meet current building facade, meaning stone or brick, and everything is is provided to us, and our building official then monitors during that progress that they are complying with the building standards. And the facade is very big and very important to city staff, just as it is to you, and especially council. So we make sure that they understand that our current zoning ordinances and building standards must be followed, even in light industrial. You're welcome.
That was one of the, on these orders here that I was reading too, was noticing that. In regards to having a permanent building, which kind of makes sense, because even if we were to have a mobile home there, then it'd be like just a regular mobile home out there. But with the city having them, or force them to put a permanent building out there, it makes it a lot better for us. All right, any other questions for commissioners? Do I have a motion in regards to PD 24-04?
Make a motion that we approve ordinance number 3050 PD 24-04.
I have a motion to approve ordinance 3050 PD-24-04. Do I have a second? I have a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We continue to 6.5, discuss and consider ordinance of the City Council of the City of Terrell, Kaufman County, Terrell, providing for the zone change classification from single-family 7.5 to townhome 12, TH-12, under the provision of 31A Appendix 2 zoning ordinance of the City of Terrell on certain real property consisting of 1.96 acres of Block 589 revised, on the revised map of the City of Terrell, Kaufman County, Texas, and more particularly described by Metz and bounds in the general warranty deed attached hereto as Exhibit A, and the site plan attached hereto as Exhibit B, and under the terms and conditions specified in Exhibit C, attached hereto, both being made a part hereof of all purpose, providing for the repeal of conflicting ordinance, providing for their servability, and providing for an effective date, also known as 706 Bethlehem Street, Terrell, Texas, PD 24-05. Yes, ma'am.
Commissioners, I bring to you a zone change application at 706 Bethlehem Street. The current use of the property is vacant. The current zoning is single-family 7.5, and the future land use is a traditional neighborhood. The proposed use that the applicant is seeking is Townhome 12. This property is currently zoned single 7.5. The applicant would like to rezone their property, which consists of 1.96 acres, to Townhouse 12. The property is located within lots 5 for PT, and 6 in the block of 589. The surrounding area is 7.5, and then you've got some multifamily, which is apartment complexes, and a couple of agriculture areas. East and west is 7.5. 27 letters were sent out to adjacent landowners, and we received one response. And you'll see that response that was not in favor. The future land, again, is traditional neighborhood. Okay, if you will turn to the next page, is our application. On page 101 is the deed proving ownership. Here on the next page, on 105, is a location map that is in red outlined in blue. State Highway 34 is to your east, and then Interstate 20 is to the south, or to the west, excuse me. Next page is the subject site showing that it's 7.5. You see the brown is multifamily, the green is agriculture, but you can see what how far it goes back and how many lots and blocks goes back, that it's all 7.5. The future land use is on 107 as new traditional neighborhood. On the next page, a buffer map is identified, and then on 109 and 110 are the owners that a public notice was mailed to them directly, and it was also provided in the newspaper. We have, on page 113 is an idea of their renderings of what they would like to have on the property. Commissioners, we spoke with this property owner and made them aware that, number one, the zoning if we were to award a townhouse, it would be considered spot zoning due to the surrounding area. And also, to do a townhome project, the minimum acreage needs to be 4 acres. So they're deficient in the acreage, first off, but the staff does not recommend approval of this application. We did have a very good meeting with the applicant, and we've offered to help him find other property that can accommodate his vision, but that we feel that this subject parcel does not meet the requirements of a zone change.
Thank you. Open the public hearing. Is there anyone here that wants to speak in favor of a zone change, PD 24-05? Okay. Is there anyone here that wants to speak not in favor of PD 24-05? Yes, ma'am. Come forward, please. Please state your name and your address, ma'am.
My name is Dorothy Jackson, 706 New Hope Street.
Right in the area. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay. First of all, I live right there at 706 New Hope Street, and that's one street over from Bethlehem. 706 is right behind me. The street back there is very narrow, and if you come in, the nursing home that is there, which has been abandoned, I don't think it need to be townhouses there because we already congested with the school, and even when I try to leave my house to get to 20, I can't even get to 20, but when school is out, I have to come all the way back through town. So putting townhouses, and y'all already have phase Woodlands down there. The Woodlands is just right in that neighborhood where I am, so I think we need to keep it single housing rather than putting townhouse in there. The parking is not adequate there. We don't have enough adequate parking space. The streets are not wide enough. If you go out Rose Hill Road, you can also see that we don't have what is needed for townhouses to come in to that area and congest it even more than it is already. And I've been in Terrell ever since 1945.
Thank you, ma'am. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
You have a blessed day. Do we have anyone else that wants to speak not in favor of PD 24-05? No? Okay, I'm going to close the hearing, public hearing. 6.6, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Terrell, Kaufman County, Texas, amending Appendix 2 zoning ordinance to the City of Terrell by changing the zoning classification of certain real property, more particularly described as a part of Block 589 revised map of the City of Terrell, Kaufman County, Texas, containing 1.96 acres of land, and also known as 706 Bethlehem Street, Terrell, Texas, as described in the warranty deed attached hereto as Exhibit A, and made part of hereof for all purposes from single family 7.5 to Townhouse 12, TH-12, providing for their servability and providing an effective date, ZC 24-05. Commissioners, do we have any questions for staff? In regards to this zone
I had a
change?
chance that, I drove that area, and I'm in full agreement with you guys. It's just not a place for that. They have two new builds there, a
Right.
two-story and a single-story in the neighborhood. The streets are
Right.
narrow.
We all agree that we need townhomes as an option. We want to give our community options, you know, but this property is just not the right property for that project, so. But we're willing to work with them, you know, on the correct zoning and acreage.
Is this wonderful woman the second person in the neighborhood?
No, that's the only one that,
But are you the person that wrote this letter?
No,
Did write one, but I saw another letter from somebody.
oh, okay, I thought you were the one. So there, yeah, so that's the second one then.
Second,
Yes, ma'am.
okay. Thank you.
Commissioner, if y'all have gone through that area, I know, we had a few that have gone in that area. It's kind of small and
yeah,
I
it's very
kind of
small.
also think that just sticking with single family in that area would
Yeah, I
be.
drove around and I find myself thinking the scale right now, you know, townhomes to me feel like they want to be in town. They want to be part of the downtown environment. You know, there's a certain look and feel. I can't say that I feel like that's the right area today. That's not to say
Right.
at some point in the city's evolution that won't be a right place, but it just doesn't feel like it today. And I can appreciate if I were living in those homes and someone came to me and said, I'm opposed, that I would want someone to hear my voice.
Sure.
Thank you, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
The other thing about that, as well, is, as I looked at them and even the designs and everything, I thought it was a great look and would be great to kind of bring up the value in that area. But if you guys have noticed, there's a house across the street, a two-story that's been there now almost 2 years, that has not sold. So I think it would be a hard-pressed sell in that backwoods kind of area like
Probably
it is.
so.
And as Ms. Johnson, is that right? Ms. also said, that Ms. Jackson, I'm sorry, also said the, nursing home Rose Hill, that's been abandoned now a couple of years, and so it's just not, I don't think it would be a good,
Right.
would be a good opportunity for them to sell in that area.
Thank you, ma'am. Commissioners, do we have a motion on the floor?
I'm saying this properly, but I move that we not change the zoning, support this.
I have a motion to not approve zoning change 24-05. Okay,
Second.
As is.
To deny?
To deny.
To deny.
I have a motion to deny zone change 24-05. Do I have a second?
Second?
I have a second to deny zone change 24-05. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those, any opposed? No. Motion denied carries.
For the benefit of the commissioners, if y'all don't already know it, it would take a supermajority, four-fifths vote of the city council to overturn what you all just did. So, I don't see that happening. In fact, Deborah, I can only remember it happening once. Did it ever happen when you were on the council? I don't recall it one time in my career, but that's it.
We'll move on to action item 7.1, acceptance of the public improvement for the Woodlands Phase 3.
Commissioners, I bring for you to not the final acceptance on Phase 3 of the Woodlands. Let me just give you a little bit of brief of what's happening here. As the city engineer, as developers go in and install improvements, water, sewer, roads, drainage, et cetera, that after all they are put in and before they start erecting houses, we go in as a city and I go through and we review all the items. If you'll see, there's some pictures as you go back to the pictures of the, okay. So I'll go through there and we look at the drainage, the outfalls, the riprap, the cracks in the road. We address those, we make a punch list item. So I'm coming to you before you, this is just from phase 3 of the Woodlands, that I reviewed it and asked for approval and acceptance of the improvements of Woodlands 3.
Any questions for staff in regards to the acceptance of public improvements for Woodlands Phase 3, Commissioners?
I have a question, because I was looking at the pictures, just trying to understand, so we're having a lot of drainage problems, especially when the water and everything will run off. So that's what they're actually gonna be repairing, or trying to.
Well, we make sure when the riprap that they put in, that's put in per the design that we approved, and that's all been approved. So we've already experienced some, like 2 or 3 weeks ago when we had that big rain. That was a good test for that. And we did find some noted things that they had to go back and make some corrections. Just as an added point, like the roads, there's a 2-year bond, performance bond on that, so we can do repairs.
I'm so sorry. This one was the one that was really confusing to me, because I'm trying to understand what it is we're voting on. Like, the others were a little bit more obvious, and this one's not. Because we're not necessarily voting on, like, we're not looking, it's phase 3, but we're not necessarily voting to approve any kind of site plan, zoning, any of that. It's,
This is a procedural thing that we have within our ordinances
yeah,
that we have to follow, that as the improvements in, I'm certifying to you that I've reviewed the product out there. I'm telling you, as the commissioners, I have inspected, approved, that they've met our standards in what the design we approved.
Commissioners, a construction plat was presented to the board on January of 2022 for Woodlands Phase 3, but this is the infrastructure that was tied into that construction plat, so that's what's being presented only now.
Yeah, we're not changing anything, I'm just, it's
Yeah.
already in the ground.
conforming. Okay, thank you for the clarification. I appreciate
Thank you, sir. Commissioners, any other questions? Do I have a motion?
Move that we accept the public improvements for the Woodlands Phase 3.
Thank you. I have a motion to accept the public improvement for Woodlands Phase 3. Do I have a second? We have a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. On action item 7.2, discuss and consider a construction plat for the Chisholm Trace, a residential development of 91 single-family homes situated in the 30.442 acres land out of the Joseph M.H. Chisholm Survey Abstract Number 105 in the Jefferson and McTurf Survey Abstract Number 340 in the city of Terrell, Kaufman County, Texas, CP 24-08.
Commissioners, I bring this construction plat, and again, this is the planned development that you just approved this evening. This owner is, again, on his 30.4 acres, is proposing 91 single-family residents. The landowner and the developer, Cedar Creek Development LLC, is proposing a gated, single-family neighborhood with 91 single-family lots. The current zoning complies with the use of the property as well as the City of Terrell's comprehensive plan, zoning ordinance, and all other codes, studies, and plans as applicable. If approved tonight, the landowner developer will seek final approval of the engineering and architectural plans, obtain a necessary building permit, and pay all applicable fees to proceed, complete the public improvements as required. During and after construction, inspections and approval by the city engineer, our building official, and/or city contractors, and then obtain individual certificate of occupancies. 31 letters were sent out to adjacent property owners within 200 feet, and we received one letter this afternoon from the neighbor that fronts 986. This is not part of your package. I didn't have time to get in. This is at 14300 FM 986. It's Mr. and Mrs. Razor, and they have checked the box in favor. And I'm happy to show this to you if you'd like to see it. On the next page, 151, is the application. 155, you'll find again their warranty deed. On page 162 is the area, the location map. You'll see the 31 acres. It's in red. Across the road on Town North is the high school. And then across 986 to the west, that's where the water tower is. On the following page is the zoning. You see that it's zoned single-family 7.5. As of tomorrow, once council approves the ordinance, that will change to a PD with all the criteria. On the following page is our future thoroughfare plan. After that is the construction plat. This owner is proposing 7 different homes, and they are here tonight, and they can answer any questions about that. Of course, we've got the PD, we've got the building standards now that's just been approved, so they will follow this, but these homes comply with those building standards. And you'll see that they've got 7 different homes that are different. I don't think we've seen anything just like this in town, so we're really excited to have this neighborhood in. And again, staff recommends approval of construction plat CP 24-08.
Thank you, ma'am. Commissioners, do we have any questions for staff in regards to CP 24-08?
Is 9th Street going to remain two-way? I mean, just 2 lanes?
It's going to be 2 lanes with a center curb going into no, it's 4 lanes. 4 lanes with a center curb. And, but the 9th Street that's existing, that's where the existing homes are, that is in front or side of the high school, the old middle school, that will not line up until later on when 9th Street expands all the way back to State Street. It'll eventually go all the way through there, but right now, we're not going to seek any additional land or purchase any land from the school system, but we'll eventually have to do that to make it match up the footprint of the new 9th Street that the developer is going to build for us.
Old 9th Street that's going to carry the traffic.
Yes, there's plans in it, but I don't know. It's on our thoroughfare plan.
So basically, like I stated earlier, we actually have to start building it in pieces. And the discomfort there's going to be a little jig and jag as you go through this till we get the roadway width matching all the way through. So, yeah, there's going to be a little bit of difference.
Any other questions, commissioners?
Is the owner is here and the developer?
Yes, ma'am?
So hi. I would like to
come up?
ask. So when I look at Google, I recognize some of these trees are probably older scrub trees, but this is a pretty significantly wooded site. What are you doing to mitigate in your plan to preserve as many of the, what was the methodology in the tree mitigation for your property?
Commissioners, this is Robert Pearson, and he is the owner and developer.
Hi.
I'm not certain what we're addressing here, but if we're talking about the land use and so forth, okay. Well, I'm giving the city an 85-foot strip to put the new 9th Street plan on. And this plan has, for 9th Street, has been coordinated with Chris, and I think we've done what the city has asked us to do in placing it. And I understand that It's not gonna line up at this time, but there's nothing we can do to fix what's across the street as well.
So
Yeah.
to help address your question a little bit more specifically, working with the civil engineer, and as you saw the plot layout of basically where the houses will be, those tree survey is gonna overlay on that, so you're gonna try to mitigate what tree remains and what tree needs to go. So that's where,
That's what I'm asking, because a lot of
Yeah.
times what happens, so, I can look at the layout, and I can tell you that they're maximizing, right? They're putting a house in every spot that they possibly can. And when you look at the layout, it probably is irrespective of a tree overlay, right?
We are.
And because a lot of times trees create inefficiencies, right? They end up in a spot where you don't necessarily like them, and so it's easy to kind of plow it all down and start over and then plant tiny little trees, and then it's 100 years before it ever looks like it was supposed to. Perfect case in point is the new neighborhood down the street that took a heavily wooded site, and they've got all these little tiny trees, and it's pretty barren, and it's 50 years from now, it'll probably be fine. But I ask because that does change the character and the quality of the environment as we do those things, and so it's nice to have folks at least be mindful, say if there's a heritage tree or a signature tree or one that's quite large that's been there, to be mindful and try to preserve those as best possible. And so that's my question, did that occur and will that occur?
We're familiar with those questions,
Yeah.
and yes.
Wonderful.
In answer to them, we are very mindful of it.
Okay,
And I think we only have 3 lots per acre, so we have a good chance at saving a good bit of them.
thank you.
Snap, aren't the developers required to put at least 2 trees per lot?
yeah, we have it, if it's in there, and what we help, instead of making a
That's
tree look like,
182 trees.
instead of making a tree look like
What caliper is that tree?
3-inch.
3. That's a tiny tree.
Well, but
It's a tiny tree.
Well,
grow.
when you ask for 7-inch tree, you're looking for a huge tree. And some of there's a give to get on that.
Totally, absolutely.
So we can't go back with a 12-inch caliber tree. That's just unrealistic. So that's why we're saying we're working with him as we overlay that tree survey on top of his plot. We try to manage that. But in retrospect, there's trees got to be added back.
I think what we're addressing is the 3-inch tree because of a lot of factors. You have a lot less loss down the road with that 3-inch tree than you will have with a 7-inch tree. Putting a 7-inch tree out there, you have to allow for the roots expansion. When you do that, you're going to run into the situation of where do you put your house? Because the street's here, your house is there. You can't put the tree roots under the concrete. So I think the 3-inch law is one that's kind of standardized. And yes, we'll comply with that. And as I understand it, we'll have 2 shades trees and 2 smaller trees. And those, depending on what existing trees we can find, will depend on whether we put 1 tree in the front and 1 in the back, or 2 in the front. If there's an existing tree that we manage to save, then of course, depending on its size, we can maybe put the other trees in the backyard.
Sure, I hope you can appreciate that tearing out an 18-inch caliber tree or a 12-inch caliber tree and replacing it with a 3-inch caliber tree is not the same tree, so, and I'm not saying that it's wrong or it's right or it's anything, but it's something that I personally like to be mindful of, because those aren't that's not the same quality of environment, right? And I suspect that we haven't caught up in our landscape ordinances, like major cities, to maybe potentially replace the caliper for caliper inch, but I just am encouraging you to be mindful of, scrub trees are one thing, I get that, right? There's some that are scrub trees. But there are probably some on that site that I suspect are pretty nice trees, and they would create a nice environment. It just might be a little bit more of an inefficient layout.
We'll keep that in mind. All right?
Thank you, sir. Thank you, gentlemen. Commissioners, do we have any other questions?
Thank you.
Do I have a motion on the floor?
I move that we approve the construction plan for the Chisholm Trace residential development.
I have a motion to approve construction